If it's not one of the three, I don't want it. Going to start getting into some energy readings. It's going to start getting into some mentality. Going to start getting into some places. Connect with the networks: motivation, meditation, inspiration. Yoga, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So ask yourself, what type of challenges can you make it through? What type of place are you going through? Do you have what it takes to have the mentality inside of yourself? So, what is it that you can ask yourself? What is it that if you do this one thing every day, it makes you you? It makes you the person that you are inside. The challenges that you face off against. The person, the drive that you have. The manifestation that you have, the ability that you have inside of yourself, and what are those challenges that only you could do, only you could face off against, only you could make through. So one of those places is starting a foundation of mentality, starting a foundation of picking simplicity, starting a foundation of putting things in front of yourself and starting to ask yourself the question, can I do this? Can I achieve it? Can I become it? And a lot of times that's what we're looking at. A lot of times that's where we're waiting. It's a lot of times that's where we're going. And it's inside of that place that we start to build ourselves. It's inside of that place we start to open up to the challenges that we face off against. And so how do we start to focus to that level? If you ask yourself that type of question, when we ask ourselves this question every single day, we ask ourselves this question, do I have what it takes? Do you truly have what it takes to be yourself? Do you truly have what it takes to sit down with you every day, to give yourself that place, to ask yourself these types of questions? Where can you go with your mentality? What type of stuff can you face off against? What kind of challenges are you facing off against? What type of things are you doing so you can be you? And a lot of times, it's inside of that where we start. It's inside of that where we get to that place where we, recognize what we have, where we are, as we start to grow inside and we start to manifest things around us, as we start to put ourselves in that type of mentality. So let me go ahead and start sharing that mentality with you. Let me go ahead and start putting you into that place, start giving you the ability to manifest your challenges, to manifest your ability to face off against your challenges, to manifest your ability to go from within, to have that kind of radiating light, to have that kind of place, to have that kind of ability. And so every single day, we're going to have challenges. Every single day, we're going to have things that we're going to have to face off against. Every single day, there are going to be people who are going to ask you the question, can you do it? Can you achieve it? Can you become it? And it's going to be in that place that you have to start asking yourself the question, how do I start? How do I get there? How do I get within myself? How do I start to overcome my own challenges? And how do I start to see myself in a place where my mentality is able to be that way? And how do you start to get down with yourself? You just pick simple things. Just pick things that you can do every day. Pick things that you can do on a daily basis that if you do these things, that they will start to pay themselves back. They will start to pay forward. They'll start to put you in a place where your focus is an ability, where your focus overcomes your challenges, where your focus comes from within you, where your mentality comes from within. And a lot of times, that's the only thing that's stopping us. And in that place where that mentality is, in that place where that ability is, in that place where those challenges lay, that's where it starts to happen. And a lot of times, that's what we're facing off against. We're facing off against the question, can you continue? Can you put yourself in a place where what you have inside is a light, where you are the light in this universe, where you are an ability in this universe, where the challenges that you face off against, you start to overcome. And a lot of times, that's what's happening is a lot of people are getting stopped from their dreams by themselves. They're getting stopped from their abilities by themselves. They're getting stopped from their challenges by themselves. And we start to get down with it. We start to ask ourselves these questions, we start to recognize that manifestation is a level of mentality, it's a level of ability, it's a level of you being yourself, it's a level of you facing off against your own challenges, it's a level of you having that person inside of you. And so what are those things that you can do so that you can start to be that way, so that you can start to become that way, so that you can start to light up this world with that kind of light in this universe? And so what are they? What if you could do one thing every day, what would that one thing be? You know, what would that one thing look like? What would it become if you were to go from within you? And that is where we start to look inside of ourselves. That's where we start to look at our level of reflection. We start to look at our mentality. We start to look at our ability. We start to, ask ourselves these types of questions. We start to recognize that what it's going to take is you. It's going to take the person that you are inside. It's going to take the mentality that you have. And so how do we start to get there? How do we start to put it in front of ourselves to where we start to achieve it? How do we start to light up this universe in such a way that what you have inside is a radiating light? What you have inside is an ability that when you see it for yourself, other people start to see it inside of you. When you start to see it for yourself, other people start to see the manifestation. When you see it for yourself, this world starts to ask you questions. It starts to ask you how you are being you, how you are achieving you, how you are utilizing your abilities to be yourself. And so let me go ahead and share some of these ways with you. Let's go ahead and start to get to that place inside of ourselves where our mentality starts to get there. Let's get our diets right. Let's get our ability to start to become a manifestation and reflection on the outside. Let's start getting our bodies in a place where our mentalities have the ability to start to answer these questions. Are you focused? Are you an ability to get to a place where you are starting to put things down in front of yourself? You're starting to put your goals in front of you. You're starting to, a lot of people start to ask, what do you mean by writing stuff down? And I mean, you got to put down what you want to achieve. You got to put down what you fail, what you succeed at, and you got to see your mentality. You got to see your ability inside of yourself. You got to see your mentality, and you got to ask yourself the question. You got to ask yourself, can you do it? Can you achieve it for you? Can you become that light from within yourself? And so a lot of times we're in that place is where it starts. In that place is where it begins. In that place is where the mentality starts to go from within, and that's where it starts to radiate outwards. So what kind of writing are you doing? Are you mastering your own writing? Have you started to ask yourself this question? What do you want for yourself? What type of things do you want to achieve at? What type of things do you want to become? What type of things do you want to overcome? And so that is the place where we start. And a lot of people get to that place, but they don't ask themselves those questions. They don't start to understand their own energy. They don't start to get into themselves. And so they get lost. They get lost in their abilities. They get lost in their challenges. They get lost in their being. And so how do we start to do it? How do we start to become it? How do we start to use those things as blessings? And how do we start to get there with ourselves? Are you asking yourself this question on a daily basis? Are you giving yourself the permission to be you? Are you giving yourself the permission to go through the things that only you can? And a lot of us are going through challenges. A lot of us are having places in front of ourselves where if we just write stuff down, if we actually just to start to put it in front of yourself, if you started to go through it with you, if you started to grind on it for yourself, if you started to uplift from within you, if you started to get to the mentality inside of yourself where you start utilizing what you have, if you started to focus from within, that radiating light would start radiating outwards. It would start to utilize your challenges. It would start to utilize your abilities. It would start to utilize your being. And so a lot of times, that is where it starts. It starts with a foundation. It starts with a mentality. It starts with an ability inside of oneself. It starts with the ability to overcome your own challenges, to ask yourself the questions that nobody else would. Because only when you start to do that, you start to face off against the things that really matter. You start to face off against yourself. You start to face off against what other people would not. You start to see that you are a blessing in this universe. You start to recognize your blessings on a daily. You start to get to that place inside of yourself where you're using those challenges for you. And a lot of us don't see that page because we don't give ourselves time. We don't give ourselves the ability to use one of the most valuable assets on the face of the planet. The ability that you breathe. The ability that simplicity is from within. The ability to be who you are. The ability to face off against the challenges that you face off against that nobody else can face off against for you. And so are you starting to ask yourself those types of questions? Are you starting to get into yourself to that point? Are you starting to see that you can do things and achieve things and become things from your level of foundation, which lays in focus, which lays from within you, which lays within this universe and this connection with the Most High God, within the ability for you to be you, within the ability for you to face off against you, from the ability from within your light to increase and manifest in the universe, to manifest within the being from within you. And how do we start to get there? How do we start to achieve it? How do we start to become it? How do we start to overcome our own challenges? How do we start to overcome our own things that would stop us, that would be negative forces in the universe, unless we start recognizing that the forces in the universe are real? That the positive mentality of focusing on positivity gives you the ability to see it all in front of yourself, gives you the ability to face off against it, gives you the ability to start to overcome it, gives you the ability to be who you are. And so we start to ask ourselves these types of questions. We start to ask ourselves, how do we start to do it? How do we start to become it? And so we have to also put ourselves in a place where we're listening to positivity, where we're putting positive things in front of ourselves, where we're recognizing that what we're focusing on matters, what we're listening to matters. What we have inside is there for you. It's there for me. And it's inside of ourselves that we start to see it. It's inside of ourselves that we start to become it. It's inside of ourselves that we start to achieve it. And so how do we start to give ourselves the ability to understand the energy inside of ourselves? Energy readings is a great way, utilizing the ability to understand the energy inside of yourself, how your being works, how your ability to use what you have, how you can see the challenges that you face off against, how you can overcome your own challenges, how you could get to that part of your story, to your journey. Because each of you have a journey, each of you have a path, each of you have a purpose. And so are you seeing it for yourself? Are you seeing the simplicity of being you? Are you giving yourself that kind of time? Are you giving yourself that kind of place? Are you giving yourself that kind of permission to be yourself? And a lot of times it's in that listening, that subconscious ability, to be yourself, that the manifestation starts. It's not the outside that matters the most. It's what's going on inside. It's what's going on that level that's manifesting it outwards. That vibration, that level of foundation, that level of relationship with the Most High, to see that you are a tool in the universe, that the universe has the ability to use the tools that you have, has the ability to use the challenges that you face off against, has the ability to use the blessings that you have inside of yourself. And a lot of times that's where it starts. That's where it absolutely starts, inside of you. It starts with you. It starts to manifest itself. It's when you focus to that level. It's when you give yourself that place. It's when you give yourself that level of manifestation that the light starts to radiate. It's when that light starts to radiate from that level from within. It's when that light starts to radiate from within that being, from within that ability, within those challenges, that you start to see that you have what it takes. When you start to manifest it to that level, when you start to achieve it from within you, when you start to overcome it from within you, when you start to become it from within you, when you start to manifest light outwards, when you start to truly manifest it, you start to become it. It's going to come from you being honest with yourself. It's going to come from you facing off against yourself. It's going to come from your mentality. It's going to come from your ability. It's going to come from what you listen to, who you listen to, how you listen. Are you sleeping on it? Are you putting it in a place? Are you using tools on your daily? Are you writing it down? Ask yourself this question. Are you giving yourself that place? Are you giving yourself that ability? How are those challenges that you're facing off against? How do you work through them? What types of things do you use? What types of places do you go? Do you go from within? Do you go to another place to see it? Can you get to that place where you become sufficient, where you go from within you, that the light inside of yourself starts to radiate? And so this is where it all starts. It all starts from the manifestation from within. It all starts from the ability to get to that place where your focus is there for you, where your being is there for you, where your challenges are there for you, where your ability to be yourself is a light in this universe. We start to use these types of challenges, then things start happening. We start to use these types of challenges, then the ability inside of ourselves radiates. We start to use these types of challenges to ask ourselves the questions that nobody else will. And so that's where the secret in this universe starts to lay. When you can see past the good and bad, you could see to the point where positive and negative forces are being utilized in this universe, where they're being utilized on a daily basis, where when you give yourself the ability to see the positives and the negatives, when you start to see them working for you, they start to work through you, they start to work with you. Then you start to overcome them. Then you start to become them. Then you start to manifest them. And it's with those kind of tools, those kind of abilities, that the foundation of focus becomes so important. That you start to see yourself as a tool. You start to see the energy inside of yourself start to flow. You start to see the ability for you to be that tool, to be that purpose. Ask yourself this question. When you are that tool, when people come to you to ask you for the advice, they start to see your level of focus when you are truly manifesting from within. You're truly manifesting from your ability. When you're truly manifesting from your purpose. When you're truly manifesting from your being. What are you using? You are using your level of focus. You are using this universe. You are pulling from things in this universe, which is the process of you. You're pulling from your journey, your path, your ability to be yourself. You're pulling from your light. You're pulling from your angle. You're pulling from your level of being. You're pulling from the ability to see your own journey. And as we start to see those that enter it and exit their journeys, we start to see that the thing that mattered the most was them understanding their own purpose. And so are you creating that kind of foundation? Are you creating that kind of connection where you're seeing everything that's happening in your life as a purpose, as a path, as a journey? Are you seeing it for yourself? Are you becoming it within yourself? Are you lighting it up in this universe where it's starting to manifest it for yourself? Ask yourself that type of question. Ask yourself if you want to be you. Ask yourself if what I'm talking about is true. Ask yourself, can you do this for you? And it all starts with the simplicity of giving yourself the time to do it. Paying yourself just 10% of your day. Giving yourself the ability to sit down with yourself for no less than an hour. To manifest yourself. To give yourself time to exercise. To give yourself time to be patient with you. To give yourself an ability to ask yourself the question, how many years have I been on the face of the planet? How qualified am I to be myself? How qualified am I to face off against the challenges that I do? How qualified am I to be positive in this universe? How qualified am I to see these positive and negative forces working in my favor? How can I start turning them towards my favor? How can I start putting them in my favor? And so that's why the foundation of focus shows the first question asked. Is it about motivation? Is it about a reflection inside of you that you are so focused that what happens is it radiates light outwards? If this is you and you are in that dark place, I'm telling you, you can pick yourself up. You can get yourself to that page. You can make it through your challenges, but you gotta have faith in you. You gotta have the ability to put a foundation where the things that aren't meant for you move out of the way, where the things that are not for you have no place in your life. They have no ability to stop you. You can see that the things that are positive will fill those things that are negative coming towards you. You can see the manifestation happening. You can see the ability for you to have that kind of patience, to have that kind of challenge, to have that kind of purpose is from within. It's when you overcome your own challenges that you start to see things. It's when you overcome your own challenges that other people start to see you. They start to see your level of focus, and they start to call you a motivation in this universe. If a lot of people started calling you a motivation, you would start to become confident with yourself. You would start to see your level of focus. You would see your ability. You would see your challenges as a place to overcome, because you would start to manifest it. You would start to manifest the light. You would start to manifest the being. You would start to manifest the challenges. You would start to giving yourself that kind of permission on a daily basis to have it for yourself. And so give yourself the permission to start. Give yourself the permission to dominate your day. Give yourself the permission to be you. Give yourself the permission to speak for you. Give yourself the permission to go within you and to start to put that stuff down on paper. Put that stuff that nobody else would do for you. To be honest with yourself. To be honest with the person that you are inside. To be honest with the challenges that you face off against. To give yourself that place. To give yourself those kind of challenges, to give yourself that kind of reflection, to give yourself that kind of manifestation. And each thing that you work on, each thing that you work through, each part of yourself that you're willing to go to, each part of yourself that you're willing to work through, when others are not able to go there and you are continuing, when others are not able to go there and you are focusing, when you are going to a level where nobody else is willing to go, that's when the manifestation starts. When you are so focused that you allow those things to move out of the way on their own, where the people that are meant for you start coming your way, where the people that are meant for you start to see your level of dedication to your life, your dedication to your journey, to your path, to your purpose, to your ability to use the energy inside of yourself. That positive force will start moving in your favor. It will start moving with you. And when you read things, recognize what you're reading, what you're putting into your subconscious, what you're putting into your ability, what you're giving yourself permission to. Start to study it. Start to understand that those of the past have recognized manifestation comes from within. That they have started to recognize that when you focus, you achieve. That when you focus, you sit down with you. When you focus, you become you. When you focus, you are you. And so have you given yourself that kind of permission? Ask yourself, have you truly become who you are? Have you truly become who you are on the inside? And it is a daily path. It is a daily struggle. It is a daily ability to focus into positivity, because the positive and negative forces are going to come in your direction. They're going to ask you the question, can you achieve it? Can you become it? And so when we do this for ourselves, when we give this place inside of ourselves, when we give this purpose inside of us, when we get there truly for ourselves, we start to light up this universe to that level. We start to light up this universe to that being. We start to light up this universe to that purpose. We have to allow the things that are not meant for us to move out of the way. As you do this, you will see yourself as a motivation. You will see yourself as a level of focus. It will be other people who will come to you to say you are a motivation. You are a reflection outwards of your level of focus, of your being from within your purpose, within your challenges, within your journey. You manifest outwards. You manifest from within that being. You manifest within that purpose. And you have a purpose. You have a journey. You have to ask yourself the question, how many years have I been alive? Have I given myself permission to be me? Have I given myself permission to face off against me? Have I given myself permission to see the positives and the negatives working in my favor? Have I given myself that place? Have I given myself those challenges? Have I given myself that purpose? Because you are worth it. You have had many lessons to go through. You have had to focus in your life. You have had to face off against things that nobody else would but you. And so have you written your stories? Have you written your journey? Have you written your challenges? Have you given yourself that place? Have you spoke it out? Have you got to that place where the manifestation is coming from within, where the light is radiating, where it's actually radiating from your process, where the universe is heating up, and those things that aren't meant for you start moving out of the way on their own? They start allowing the journey, the path to have its purpose, to have its being, to have its challenges, to bless you, to give yourself the ability to become a tool in this universe. That when other people see your tools, your purpose, your level of being, your ability inside of yourself, the radiating light starts to light up in this universe, because you are a light. You are a purpose. You are a journey. And that is a blessing. And I see that comment there. And so as we all continue that way, as we all give ourselves that place, as we all give ourselves that ability, we need those types of things for ourselves. We have to hear it for ourselves, that you can achieve greatness. If somebody else can do it, you can do it too. If you are in that dark place, if you are in that dark time in your life, if you are not sure of your challenges, if you are not sure if you can overcome your challenges, start writing them down. Start listening to positivity. Start putting yourself in a place. Just give yourself a little bit of time for you each day. Give yourself a little bit of purpose for you each day. You know, that might be going to a gym. That might be sitting down in a room. That might be sitting in a place where other people would not be able to go. That might be going within yourself. But give yourself some time every day to focus on the things that you want to do, that you want to become. When you do this for yourself, when you give this to yourself, when you give yourself that kind of permission, when you give yourself that kind of place, when you give yourself that kind of purpose, that's when it starts to happen. That's when other people start to see it. That's when other people start to recognize it. That's when you start to use the simplicity of yourself. And it does not always require doing many things. It requires focusing on these things and doing them simply the best you can. To be that person, to have that level of focus, to have that level of being, to have that level of purpose. And that kind of blessing has an ability for others to see it for themselves, for others to achieve it for themselves. When you start to achieve your level of focus, those things that are not meant for you will start to move out of their way. They will start to move out of your way because they're not meant to be there for you. You start moving that negativity out of the way. The positivity starts coming. You start to see the process. You start to see this journey. You start to see this path. You start to see yourself as a tool in this universe. Start to recognize that you are a tool in this universe, that the universe is going to test you. It is going to ask you if the tools that you have, if the challenges that you face off against, if the ability to be yourself, you can manifest. If you have what it takes to be that focus, it's going to ask you daily. It's going to ask you to see if you can handle the heat, if you can handle the challenge, if you can handle the purpose, if you can be that purpose in this universe. If you have that purpose for yourself, the universe will start to turn positive because it will start moving those things out of the way. You'll start to identify with the challenges. You'll start to identify with the being. You'll start to be that person inside. When those blessings start happening, when those purposes start happening, when those level of reflections start to radiate outwards, don't be surprised in the results. Don't be surprised when other people see you succeeding, when you have faced off against your own challenges, when you have gone through the things that nobody else would do, when you have to cross that river to get to the other side and you have to get wet. You have to get through those things and you have to get dry too. And sometimes it's going to be cold, and sometimes it's going to take time, and sometimes it's going to take patience. But if you continue to grind, if you continue to put yourself in that place, if you continue to write, if you continue to read, if you continue to listen, if you continue to give yourself that place where the manifestation is coming from within, where the manifestation is coming to a level from within you, you will start to answer the question for yourself. Is this purpose worth it? Is this journey worth it? And that's when you start to see you. That's when you start to recognize you. That's when you start to see that you can and are a blessing in this universe. And it's from within that level inside of yourself that the blessings start to radiate outwards. And so start to recognize that that level is an able ability. That level gives you the ability to see the positivity, to search after the positivity, to use the tools that you have. And as you start to head inwards, as you start to give yourself the ability to go inwards, to start to soak this up, to start to get to that place where you can start to study. You could truly start to study your path. You could truly start to study your journey. You could truly start to study your purpose. You could truly start to get into yourself. You could start to get down with your breath. You could start to get into your challenges. That's where you start to become the student of your life. That's where the life starts to begin. That's where the ability from within to start to overcome your challenges starts. And so when you start to breathe, when you truly start to breathe in life, when you truly start to get in to become that kind of student, when you start to get in to become that kind of purpose, when you start to get in to face off against the things and answer the questions that nobody else would for you, when you start to see it for yourself, when you start to become it for yourself, when you start to face off against it, when you start to overcome it, when you start to recognize you can do it and you are doing it and you can achieve it, that's when the things start to happen. It starts to happen inside. It starts to open you up so that you can focus to that level. It starts to awaken inside of you. It starts to get to that place where the energy inside of yourself starts to understand. It starts to study. It starts to break down the barriers that you have inside of yourself. It starts to allow you to be a student inside of the classroom of you. It allows you to start to recognize that you have a purpose. You have a path. You have a journey. It's inside of that journey that it all starts. It's inside of that journey where it all starts to begin. It's within that journey where the manifestation comes from within to overcome your challenges. It's from within that inner path, within that inner journey, that we start to focus to that point where we start to study our life, where our incoming breath starts to become the student, where your focus becomes the student. It becomes the process. It becomes the tool inside of yourself to start to open the pages of the book of you, to open the pages of the book of you, to start to understand the energy inside of yourself, to give yourself the ability to stand your ground, to utilize the understanding and the purpose of your heart, to be able to voice yourself, to give yourself the ability to have depth perception, to have the ability to utilize your nervous system, to communicate with yourself, to communicate with your path, to communicate with your purpose. It's inside of that page that you start to utilize it. It's within that page that you start to become it. It's within that page that you start to see it. It's within that page that you start to become it. It's within that page that you overcome your own challenges. And so when we go to that level, when we truly go to that level, when we truly start to ask ourselves these types of questions, how do I do it? How do I become it? How do I get through it? It's not in somebody else to achieve it for you. It's not in somebody else to do it for you. It's not in somebody else to become it for you. It's from within you, the simplicity of being yourself, from mastering the things that is you, from mastering the being inside of you, to that challenge that you face off against that only you could do, to be that place inside of yourself, to be that kind of light in this universe, that we start to ask ourselves these types of questions. How do we get there? How do you start getting down with those challenges with an able mentality, with an able being in the process going inwards, with an able ability in the process to be inside of yourself, to be present inside of your being, to be present inside of your purpose, to be present inside of your light, to recognize that you are absolutely a blessing in this universe. And so when you start to achieve it from within you, and I mean within you to the level where you study you, where you start to study your being, where you start to become it for yourself, when you start to become it within yourself, when you start to achieve it for yourself, when you start to study your journey, your path, your purpose, you're going to have to become a student of your life. You have to become a student of your journey. You have to become a student of your path and your purpose. And so are you seeing it for yourself? Are you achieving it within you? That's where we all start. That's where it all starts to begin, the process from within. And that is the place where we go. That is the place where we start our journey. That is the place where the blessing comes from within you when you start to give yourself that kind of patience, to give yourself that kind of purpose. And so from that place inside of you is where we start to grow. That is where we start to face off against the things that nobody else can for you. Nobody can within you. And so from within ourselves, within our path, within our purpose, we start to recognize it. We start to recognize that we can do it, that we can achieve it, that we can become it. And inside of ourselves, we start to light up this universe to that level, to that place, to that purpose, to that level of being. So let's go ahead and start getting inwards. Let's allow ourselves to be that kind of student of our life. Let's let that inwards breath have that place of study, to have that place of patience, to have that place where you can center your breath, where your center breath is the classroom, where your center breath is the ability to extract the student with the teacher, where the student gets together with the teacher inside of you, where you're centered inside of yourself, where your being starts to grow, where your challenges start to be overcome, where the study inside of you starts to happen, where the study inside of your being starts to overcome your challenges. And so from within ourselves, we start to center it. We start to give it to the permission to ourselves to be ourselves, to start to know ourselves, to start to face off against our challenges inside of ourselves. And so inside of ourselves is where we start. Inside of ourselves is where we grow. Inside of ourselves is where we light up this universe. Inside of ourselves is where we start to become who we are. We start to know who we are. We start to gain the knowledge and the extraction from the universe. We start to see the knowledge inside, and those years that we've been alive have a purpose. They have a path. They have an ability for you to overcome your challenges. They have an ability inside of yourself to become you. And that is the place where we start to understand our challenges. That's the place where we start to overcome our challenges. That is the place where we start to become that kind of knowledge, to become that kind of purpose, to have that kind of path. Is it inside of ourselves, inside of our being, inside of our level of giving ourselves the simplicity to know ourselves, to be ourselves, to face off against ourselves. Inside of that place, inside of that purpose, inside of those challenges, we start to overcome them. We start to become them. We start to face off against them. We start to recognize that there is a purpose for you. There is a purpose for me. And so inside of that light, with that level of focus, we start to achieve things inside of ourselves. And it isn't about somebody else. It's inside of this place that the extraction becomes that patience of that external breath of knowledge, that external breath of being, that external breath of purpose, that external breath of challenge, that external breath of understanding, that external breath of blessings, that external breath of understanding. And with that kind of light, the universe starts to light up for you. It starts to light up within you. And so when we start to see it for ourselves, when we truly start to see it within ourselves, we start to see it within us and around us, we start to recognize it, we start to become it, we start to achieve it. That is the place where you are blessed the most. When you see you, when you start to see that your challenges can be overcome, when your breath outward starts to allow the student to be tested by the teacher within, when we start to recognize the teacher within ourselves, we start to recognize the paths within ourselves, we start to recognize the purpose within ourselves, we recognize the blessings within ourselves, we recognize the universe, the external universe's purpose within our journey, within our path, within our knowledge, within our stories from within ourselves. We start to get there for ourselves. And so that is how we start to look inwards. That is how we start to get there for ourselves. We start to bless this universe. We start to achieve light from within this universe. We start to become a light in this universe. And so as we become this kind of light, as we start to become this kind of journey, as we start to become this kind of purpose, as we start to face off against these kind of challenges, we start to overcome them from the knowledge from within. When you do that for yourself, the manifestation starts to radiate from within you. It starts to radiate a light outwards. It radiates a being from within. the manifestation starts to have an understanding. Starts to have an understanding that you have a purpose, you have a path, you have a journey. You are a blessing in this universe. It's up to you to see your blessings. It's up to you to see your purpose. It's up to you to utilize that knowledge and that focus within yourself. To start to see that, to start to reflect that, to start to center your focus and your knowledge inside of yourself, where your whole being, the classroom, the student, and the teacher is you. Where you start to give yourself that place to study, to be that kind of student of your life, to be that kind of teacher of your life, to become that kind of blessing in this universe. To have that kind of blessing in this universe starts to create a level of discipline. Starts to create a level of discipline from within. Starts to create a level of being from within. Starts to create a level of purpose from within. Starts to create a level of understanding from within. When you start to manifest it, when you truly start to put it there for others to understand, for others to see for you, for yourself, to use this universe to answer the question, how can I use my focus and my knowledge so this classroom could have a purpose, so that this classroom can have a being, so that this classroom can have an understanding, so that this classroom can have a light, can have a reflection outwards. And so are we focused to that level? Are we knowledge to that level? Are we focused beyond focus, knowledge beyond knowledge, to the place of discipline, where you start to radiate light outwards, where your challenges come from your level of focus and knowledge being centered inside of yourself to see the positivity, to become that level of discipline, to where you focus into the positivity, where you focus into the ability, where you focus into the ability to be yourself, to face off against those kinds of challenges. And it's within that blessing inside of yourself that things start to become overcome. It's within that blessing within yourself that that person, that being that you are, starts to use that discipline, and the universe starts to create ripples called you. That's when the universe starts to change around you, because you never change. You are always going to be yourself. You are always going to think your thoughts. You are always going to have your level of focus. You're always going to be who you are. So what happens is this radiating light radiates outwards. This level of discipline comes from within. This level of discipline comes from your level of focus and knowledge, comes from your level of being, comes from your level of challenges, comes from your level of permission, comes from your level of you. Each day you're going to face off against challenges. Are you focused to the point where your knowledge and focus hits a place of discipline, where that discipline radiates outwards, where it lightens up your day, where it lightens up your being, where it lightens up your purpose, where it gives you the permission to be you, to face off against you? And so how do you start to get to that place? We have seen many people do this. They have reached that place where their focus and their knowledge and that purpose and that journey has a purpose in itself. And we have seen these people across the face of the planet. We have seen these people who have achieved that kind of light. We have seen these people who have achieved that kind of journey, who have achieved that kind of purpose, who have achieved that kind of manifestation. And so as we do it for ourselves, as we give it within ourselves, we're going to have to be honest with ourselves. We have to be honest with our levels of discipline. We have to give ourselves permission to be who we are, to face off against the things that we're going to face off against, to go through the things that we want to go through the purpose that we want to. And so at that level, where discipline becomes a reflection, it's when other people start to become inspired. It's where other people start to see a inspiration. It's where other people start to see a light. It's from within that level of discipline that we go from within, and it radiates outwards. It's from within that level of discipline where the manifestation starts to happen, where the being starts to happen, where the purpose starts to happen. And so are we focusing to that level? Are we giving ourselves that place? Are we giving ourselves that kind of permission? And so when we focus that depth, when we focus with that kind of purpose, when we focus with that kind of being, when we focus with that kind of challenges, when we give ourselves that kind of place to get down with ourselves, to face off against ourselves, to
Stopped, I think.
give ourselves that place where what we have inside is a blessing in this universe, that is when the discipline inside starts to radiate. And so when you start to become disciplined, when you start to face off against those things, when you start to give the simplicity inside of yourself a purpose, to give it a path, to give it a journey, to give it a being inside of you, you will start to light up this universe to a level where others won't go. You'll start to achieve things others won't achieve. You'll start to become that light to the place where others' days become lighter, and lift them up. Lift up their being inside. Lift up their ability inside of themselves. Lift up their purpose. Lift up their permission to be themselves. Lift up their being inside to that level where they see you. When you leave a ripple on the face of the planet, others will see it. When you leave a purpose from within you, others will see it. When you are able to read energy from your level of focus, from your being, when your purpose has a purpose in the universe, where your path has a purpose, where your challenges have a purpose, where your discipline inside has a purpose, that's when the light inside of yourself starts to radiate. That's when the light inside of yourself starts to become. That's when the light inside of yourself starts to bless. And with those types of blessings, you have a purpose, you have a journey, you have a path, you have challenges, and your challenges are worth it. Your purpose is worth it. Your discipline is worth it. And so what type of discipline do you have? Do you apply your focus and knowledge to a place where you are centered inside of yourself? Have you asked yourself that question? Have you asked yourself that place? Have you gotten to those kind of challenges? Have you made it through your own challenges so you can be who you want to be, so you can achieve what you want to achieve, so that you can become who you want to become? Because it's waiting for you. It's waiting for your level of discipline. It's waiting for your place inside. It's waiting for your purpose inside of you. It's waiting for your journey so that you can see it for yourself. And it's not going to be somebody else that's going to do it for you. It's going to come from within you. It's going to come from what you believe in. It's going to become from what you know about yourself. How focused you are. How determined you are to continue when other people would just give up. It's going to come from that place. It's going to come from you. It's going to come from your light in this universe. And that's where it starts to manifest outwards. That's where you will start to leave ripples beyond yourself. You will start to leave ripples for a place for others. When you start to uplift others, when you start to manifest from within, when you start to manifest from that place, when you start to give yourself that purpose, when you start to give yourself that journey, where that place inside of yourself is that kind of blessing, where it is that kind of being, where it is that kind of purpose, where you are you. And you're going to face off against things that nobody else will for you. You're going to face off against things that nobody else will do for you. You're going to face off against things no one else can achieve for you. And so are you able to get there to your place of discipline where your focus and your knowledge is being applied, where it's actually being applied, where it's actually being utilized, where it's actually being a path, a purpose, and a journey? And so as we do it for ourselves, as we give it to from within, as we get to that place for who we are, to go against the grain of the universe, so that the universe can utilize the grain of you, so that you can overcome the challenges and the universe can start to lighten your load, to master yourself, to master your purpose, to master your being. You know, others might say that the universe is not great, but this universe created from the Most High so that you could become disciplined, so that you could see your path, your journey, your purpose, and overcome your own challenges, to overcome your own path, to overcome your own purpose, so that you can light up this world, you can light up this being, you can become that kind of light in this universe. And so when we start to recognize it, when we start to become it, when we start to achieve it, when we start to see these kind of blessings radiate outwards from within ourselves, that's when the universe starts to answer back. That's when the universe starts to say, let's do this, let's achieve this, let's become this. And it's from within you, you will start to. It's from within you, you will start to achieve it. It's from within you, you start to become it. It's from within you, you start to overcome it. And so as we do it for ourselves, as we truly go within ourselves, as we become disciplined, let's leave lights out for other people to be lifted as well. Let's leave the being out so that the being can grow, so that the uplifting can come from within. Let's uplift each other. Let's start to be honest with ourselves. Let's start to face off against these types of things. Let's start to face off against these types of challenges. Let's start to see our own blessings. Let's start to see our own purposes. Start to see our own paths. And as we uplift other people, they'll start to have a relationship with the Most High. They'll start to have a purpose in their day. They will start to see their own path. They will start to see their own journey. They will start to see their own being. And so as we give ourselves that place to be ourselves, to truly face off against that place inside of ourselves, to face off against that type of challenge, the universe will start to use you. It will start to ask you the question, are you disciplined enough that you have the ability to share your light? Are you disciplined enough that you have the ability to create ripples in the universe? That you have the ability to be yourself? That you have the ability to face off against you? That you have the ability to go within yourself to light up this universe? To light up this being from within you? To light up this purpose within yourself? To start to become that kind of blessing in this universe, to become that kind of purpose in this universe, to become that kind of path within this universe. And yes, when you answer this universe back as yes, I am, we start to answer this universe back as yes, I can. We start to answer this universe back as this blessing from within radiates light outwards. This blessing from within radiates being outwards. You being yourself, being who you truly are inside, facing off against those kind of challenges on a daily basis means you are a blessing. You are a path. You are a journey. You are a discipline in this universe. Start utilizing it. Start becoming it. Start facing off against it so that you can answer the universe back as the question. This positivity bypasses any negativity in the universe that can come against it, because the light inside radiates so. The light inside radiates from that level of being, from that level of purpose, from that level of challenge. Out came one, you. Out came your being to face off against your challenges, to face off against your things that others would not. And as you light it up to that level, if you give yourself that kind of permission, if you give yourself that kind of purpose, then the universe has the ability to use this, has the ability to become it, has the ability to overcome it. And you have that right inside of yourself. It's your birthright to be a blessing in this universe. It's your birthright to have a day where you are a light, where you are a purpose, where you are a path. And it's up to you to discipline yourself to that place. It's up to you to get there for you. It's up there to get within yourself, to be honest with yourself, to face off against your challenges so that you can overcome your challenges, so that you can overcome the things that others wouldn't, so that you can become that person within yourself, so that you can gain that level of purpose, that you can gain that level of path, that the universe can see you as a blessing, and that this universe can use your blessings from within yourself. Are you seeing that for yourself? Have you asked yourself this question? Am I an inspiration in this universe? Am I uplifting other people by being myself? Am I uplifting other people to a level where their being feels light, where their level of being feels purpose, where their level of being feels a blessing coming because you are there? Answer that question back as yes. Answer that question back as discipline. Answer that question back as the purpose from within oneself radiates light outwards to the level where the being inside becomes that level of focus and knowledge, to where the universe has the ability to use your gifts, your purpose, your challenges, so that you can be who you are inside. And so as we close, as we get close to the end of this, connect with the network, Motivation, Meditation, Inspiration.yoga, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Periscope, and Motivation, Meditation, Inspiration, so that you can see every day. Subscribe, connect. Let's get this universe going. Let's get you to become an inspiration. Let's start to light up this world. Let's start to get to that place where meditation becomes a reflection of self-study, where energy starts to flow to a level from within yourself. I do energy readings. Reach out. Motivation, meditation, inspiration.yoga. Meditation classes, they're available too. Connect. Motivation, meditation, inspiration.yoga. The being inside to radiate from within. The being inside to radiate within that level of light. You are a blessing in this universe. See it for yourself. Become it within yourself. Start to ask for mentoring. Start to ask for the ability to use this mentality, to use this purpose, to use this path, to use this journey to the place where the light inside of yourself starts to radiate outwards. As I close, I just want to leave you all with a blessing. As always, I want you to see your purpose, your path, your journey.